Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. It's a great pleasure to speak at this very important stage on the Taxation, Annual Rates, Employee Allowances and Remedial Matters Bill. And I want to say how utterly disappointed, betrayed, I feel, on behalf of the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of New Zealanders who once upon a time looked to this government to do constructive things, not only for the business sector but for the people who make up our great population and who are the citizens of this great country. They looked to this government to exercise responsible, sensible, constructive management of the economy. And every citizen in New Zealand knows, every voting citizen, every working citizen, every citizen who wants to work but who cannot because of conditions running against them, wants to know that we have in place a government that acts sensibly and properly when it comes to the revenue that the government needs to create the wonderful country that we all aspire to. And they look to this government to make sure that the taxes that they responsibly pay, that the citizens of this great country responsibly pay every time they work, every time they line up at the shops or buy something off, things that enable them to gather GST, every time they do something that adds to the Crown's coffers, they want to know that the rates that are struck are right and proper for the age in which we live. Because the demands of the citizenry have changed. The demands of the citizenry have changed. People now want a country with a state that exercises and plays a proper role, that does a number of things, that encourages investment in the regions, that supports people into housing, that tides them over through those difficult times when they're out of work, when they need income support, when the mother or father of a child finds themselves on their own with those child responsibilities and needs to be supported, when they put their children through school, through primary school, through high school, early childhood education even, and even on to university. And they want a government that sees the responsibility in that government to ensure it has enough revenue to meet those costs so that we have a country that can properly and proudly boast it is fair and equal for all. But the rates that we are confirming in Part 1 of this legislation, Mr Chairman, do not allow us to say that. We will not, when we come to pass this bill, or certainly this part of it, when we have struck the tax rates for this particular year, we will not be able to say that this government has struck tax rates and ensured that it will have the correct revenue to create a country that is fair and equitable and fits the dream of every young citizen in this country, that they will have the opportunity to excel, to reach their potential and do the best for themselves, their family and their country. So this was an opportunity for this government to do something different, not to do business as usual, not to do more of the same, not to say nothing to see here, citizens, move on, but to do something different, to give hope and to give courage to people who are looking for something new, for something different. This government isn't there. This government wants to rest on whatever laurels it might once have had, and it no longer has a vision for a fair and equitable New Zealand. This government is quite happy to stand by and see inequality grow, inequity continue, and do nothing about it. The government says that the rates that we are striking in this part of the legislation is enough to generate a surplus and that somehow this is a positive thing for the country. We of course all know that the surplus in this year's budget is not a real surplus at all. It's achieved through manipulating things like leaving ACC levies unnecessarily high and a range of other measures, a range of other tricks up their sleeves as well. And of course describing what is funding for Auckland roads as a loan to Auckland, so that it's on the balance sheet but it doesn't come out of the profit and loss or the income and expenditure. What a silly government. What a silly Minister of Finance that dreams up that sort of thing and pretends he can say to the people of New Zealand, the good citizens of New Zealand, we have a surplus. Because what they are too afraid to do is to confront the challenges we've got, Mr. Chairman.
Andrew Little.
To confront the challenges we've got, to face reality square on and say we have to do something different. And we need tax rates that allow us to do something different. Tax rates that mean that as a government we can do things that will rebuild this country and its sense of fairness and opportunity and equality. The rates that we are being asked to agree to and to strike in Part 1 of this legislation will not allow that. And every member of the government opposite knows that, which is why they're looking down with a sense of deep shame and embarrassment, because they know that they have let the people of New Zealand down. They know they have let the people of New Zealand down because they know the tireless, hard-working government backbenchers opposite know. They will tell us, and they may even well be believable, that they have tried to put pressure on their cabinet colleagues in their caucus to do something different. But oh no, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. The government sails on into the death months, the last 3 months of this government on the ropes, without a vision and without a vision and no longer willing to offer hope to the great citizens of this country. That's where we are now, Mr. Chairman. What an unhappy state we are in. And it doesn't need to be this way. And the people of New Zealand know. The people of New Zealand know that come 20 September, when there is a change of government, they will elect a government that is prepared to deliver a fresh vision, a vision at all, and a sense of hope with new tax rates that will mean that we will have a government that can do good and positive things for Kiwis, that we can have good schools, more teachers, higher quality schooling, good hospitals, people who can actually get their operations when they need them, elderly people who are hanging out for their hip operations, young people who are hanging out for their operations to enable them to have a life ahead of them, that they can actually get those operations, a health system that works for the people. And we will actually have roads, not just in Auckland and Christchurch, but around the country, a roading network that we can boast and be proud of. Roads in Taranaki that actually have a shoulder, that if you need to veer away from somebody on the other side of the road, you've got somewhere to go. Roads that are actually smooth and don't cause trucks to go out of control. Roads that don't crumble and fall on vehicles, as they have now done twice in the last 6 weeks on State Highway 3 in Taranaki. And people want to see a government that is responsible enough to levy fair taxes, reasonable taxes on people, so that it can do the job of proper and responsible government. Well, that change is coming, Mr. Chairman, as we all know. That change is coming, and it is only a few months away, and the people of New Zealand only have to hold on for a little bit longer. This legislation will no doubt pass. These tax rates will pass, but people will be able to see that there will be an alternative way and an alternative approach, and an approach that ensures that the people of New Zealand will have the government collecting the right resources and devoting those resources fairly across all New Zealand and all New Zealanders, not just favouring those, pardon me, in the metropolitan areas in Auckland and in Christchurch, which desperately needs it, of course, but in all areas as well, and particularly in regional New Zealand, which has been starved. You've only got to have a look at the Voice of Regional New Zealand that was in a Taranaki newspaper just on the weekend. And the civic leaders of Taranaki calling out to say, we need a different approach. And every issue that they identified as an issue that members on this side of the House have been talking about, because we are in touch with the people and we know what is needed, but nothing that the government opposite has talked about or even thought of, because they are out of touch and out of time. Mr. Chairman, these rates won't help New Zealand. These rates will be more of the same, business as usual, but change is afoot and changes are coming, and well, may that day come.
Darian Fenton.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to take a call on Part 1 of the Taxation Annual Rates, Employee Allowances and Remedial Matters Bill.